Life in the Secret Annex continues to reveal itself through small details and constant tension. The entrance to their hiding place has now been carefully concealed behind a movable bookshelf. It was built by one of the helpers who, after learning their secret, feels an overwhelming need to do something, anything, to protect them. To enter or leave the annex, they must crouch, step carefully, and even jump, since part of the stair was removed. At first, everyone kept bumping their heads until they finally padded the doorway to avoid more bruises. Anne admits she hasn't been studying much lately. She has allowed herself a break until September, when her father plans to resume teaching her. Still, she's surprised by how much she has already forgotten. Daily life hasn't changed much. Tensions remain. Anne and Mrs. Van Daan clash often, while Mr. Van Daan shows clear favoritism toward Margot. Anne feels treated like a child by her mother, something she deeply resents. And Peter, quiet, lazy, and awkward, annoys her greatly. She finds him dull and unimpressive, spending most of his time lying around, half asleep. Despite everything, there are rare peaceful moments. On warm days, Anne and Margot lie quietly in the attic, sunlight pouring through the open window, trying to enjoy a sense of normalcy in a life defined by hiding. Arguments, however, are never far away. One particularly fierce fight erupts between Mr. and Mrs. Van Daan, louder and uglier than anything Anne has ever witnessed in her own family. The cause is trivial, yet the shouting is intense. Peter, stuck in the middle, is ignored and mocked, dismissed as weak and overly sensitive. He constantly complains about imaginary illnesses, which Anne suspects are more in his head than real. Tensions spread further when household items begin to disappear or are claimed as personal property. Mrs. Van Daan removes her linens from shared use while freely expecting others to contribute theirs. Dishes, food, and chores become silent battlegrounds. Anne accidentally breaks one of Mrs. Van Daan's plates, triggering another outburst. Surprisingly, Mr. Van Daan temporarily sides with Anne, a rare moment of kindness she hopes will last. Books become another source of conflict. Peter sneaks away to read a forbidden book meant for adults, driven by curiosity and rebellion. When he's caught, his punishment escalates quickly. Sent away without dinner, isolated, humiliated. The family eats in tense silence until Peter makes his presence known in a dramatic, defiant way. What follows is chaos, fear, and another painful reminder of how fragile life in hiding truly is. Eventually, tempers cool, but the emotional scars linger. Anne grows increasingly frustrated by constant criticism. Mrs. Van Daan scolds her endlessly about talking too much, about food, about manners. Mealtimes become unbearable. Anne feels watched, judged, corrected at every turn. Her parents defend her, especially her father, whose calm patience keeps her grounded. Without him, she admits she might not endure it all. Despite confinement, Anne continues learning. She studies French, listens to radio broadcasts from London, and reacts with joy to news of the Dutch royal family. She reflects on how others now see her as not completely foolish, which only increases the pressure to prove herself. She's also painfully aware of what she lacks: warm clothes for winter, freedom, privacy. Even her diary is no longer safe. When Mrs. Van Daan asks to read it, Anne refuses, terrified of being exposed. As days pass, Anne questions adults more and more. Why do grown-ups fight over such meaningless things? Why is she always the subject of discussion, criticism, and correction? Her appearance, her personality, her behavior, nothing escapes scrutiny. She feels anger boiling inside her, certain that one day she will explode if things don't change. One dinner conversation about modesty spirals into yet another confrontation. What begins as a philosophical discussion turns personal, sharp, and humiliating. Mrs. Van Daan loses control, shouting, insulting, and storming toward Anne in a rage. Anne watches, stunned, realizing something important in that moment. You only truly know someone when you argue with them. Only then does their real character emerge. Through it all, Anne keeps writing, observing, thinking, feeling deeply. Her diary becomes not just a record of events, but a quiet act of resistance, a place where her voice remains free, even when her life is not. Life in hiding continues to be shaped by strange routines and unexpected moments. Something as simple as bathing becomes an elaborate operation. Without a proper bathroom, the residents of the Secret Annex rely on a large tub, taking turns whenever hot water is available downstairs. Each person chooses a different spot for privacy. Some use the kitchen, others an office, even behind a fireplace grate. Anne and Margot usually bathe in the front office, always with the curtains tightly closed, wrapped in dim light. Recently, Anne discovered a new favorite place, the office restroom, where she can lock the door, turn on the light, and enjoy a rare moment of comfort and independence. A visit from a plumber disrupts everything. Water is cut off for an entire day, and even basic needs become complicated. The situation is embarrassing, but Anne describes it with honesty and humor, revealing how silence and immobility, remaining perfectly still for hours, can be harder for her than fear itself. For a lively girl like Anne, being forced into stillness becomes its own form of punishment. Fear returns suddenly one evening when the doorbell rings loudly. Panic spreads instantly, the kind of panic only those in hiding truly understand. Relief comes when it's dismissed as a prank or a delivery, but the tension lingers. Silence is once again mandatory, especially now that a new worker, unfamiliar with their secret, moves freely through the building. Anne reflects with disbelief at how much she has changed, how she can now sit quietly for hours, something unimaginable just months earlier. There are brief attempts at celebration. Mrs. Van Dan's birthday is marked with a modest meal, flowers, and small gifts. Yet even these moments carry discomfort. Anne becomes increasingly irritated by Mrs. Van Dan's flirtatious behavior toward her father, gestures and comments that Anne finds inappropriate and unsettling. She doesn't hide her feelings and confronts her directly, trusting that her father remains unaffected by the attention. Not everything is tense. Occasionally, Peter surprises everyone by being genuinely funny. Together, he and Anne dress up in ridiculous costumes, bringing rare laughter to the annex. New skirts arrive, bought at outrageous wartime prices, highlighting how much life has changed. Education continues as well. Plans are made for correspondence courses in shorthand, a skill Anne believes may one day prove essential. Emotional storms follow. Another argument erupts between Anne and her mother, ending in tears and headaches. Anne confesses openly that her bond with her father feels stronger, a truth that weighs heavily on her. She studies, reads, and tries to keep her distance, knowing that offering help when emotions run high would only make things worse. Then the outside world intrudes with devastating force. News arrives of Jews being arrested in large numbers, transported like animals to camps under horrifying conditions. Anne writes with trembling fear, absorbing reports of gas chambers, executions, and cruelty beyond imagination. The suffering feels both distant and terrifyingly close. Helpers like Miep and Ellie are shaken as well. One worries for her boyfriend sent to Germany, another haunted by what she witnesses on the streets. Anne's words grow heavier, filled with anger, disbelief, and grief. Amid fear, life stubbornly goes on. Anne studies tirelessly, translates French texts, struggles with mathematics, reads novels, and dreams of the future. Family relationships fluctuate. Closeness returns, small joys resurface. She shares a bed with Margot, exchanges diaries, and speculates about dreams they rarely say aloud. Even vanity slips in. Anne wonders whether she's attractive, longing for reassurance she never fully receives. Terror strikes again when hammering sounds echo near the hidden entrance. Convinced discovery is imminent, Anne waits in frozen dread as someone tugs and pounds at the concealed door. Seconds stretch into eternity. Relief floods the room when the danger passes. The lock had jammed, preventing their helpers from warning them. Fear transforms in Anne's imagination into a monstrous figure, proof of how trauma distorts even harmless events. There are lighter interludes, a night with trusted friends staying over, laughter by candlelight, shared meals, and even a blown fuse that plunges them into darkness. Moments later, light returns, along with fragile normalcy. Illness brings new anxiety. When Anne's father develops a high fever and a rash, with no doctor to call, they rely on hope and home remedies. News of confiscated furniture reminds everyone of what they've lost and what no longer matters compared to survival. Anne reads more adult books now, encountering ideas about womanhood that spark curiosity and confusion. She dreams of growing up, of understanding her own body, of becoming someone important. Evenings are spent listening to her father read great works aloud, moments of quiet closeness she treasures deeply. As winter approaches, the fire is lit for the first time. Smoke fills the annex, and they brace themselves, unsure whether even warmth will betray them. Anne's inner struggles intensify. She feels overshadowed by Margot, misunderstood by her mother, and painfully aware of favoritism. Her longing isn't for approval, it's for genuine love, especially from her father. She doesn't envy Margot, she simply wants to be seen as herself. Writing becomes her refuge, the only place where she can be honest without fear of judgment. Hope flickers briefly with news from the war. Allied landings spark cautious optimism. Food supplies are carefully managed, ration cards purchased at absurd prices. Then chaos erupts when a sack of dried beans bursts open, sending them cascading down the stairs in a deafening flood. Even in hiding, laughter finds a way to exist. A major change arrives, the decision to welcome an eighth person. A dentist named Albert Dussel is chosen. Despite Anne's doubts about his hesitation, the plan moves forward. When he finally arrives, the secrecy, coordination, and deception involved are astonishing. Dussel is stunned to discover the hidden world above the office he thought he knew. He's welcomed with coffee, brandy, and humor, including a mock guidebook outlining the rules of the Secret Annex. It's playful, ironic, and deeply human, proof that even under constant threat, they refuse to surrender their spirit. Life in the Annex grows more crowded, more complicated, but also more real. Fear, hope, humor, resentment, and courage coexist in every quiet breath they take.